Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of Mr. Dualmind's Role-Playing Guides. This episode will be all about character creation. Just like the last episode, this section of the guide has been scripted by what is now known as the Dualmind team. This is made more for education purposes than entertainment, so bear with me as I speak plainly and seriously as we begin. Step 1. Their name. It should go without saying that names like Lolcakes and Ubermaster are unfit for roleplay. You should choose a name that suits your character well. There is nothing wrong with simple names like Sarah and Tom. However, you should try to make a full name. We will use my character as an example throughout this guide. His name is Thaddeus James Harkov. Step 2. Their title. Titles can be fun, but should not be looked upon lightly. You should refrain from going too heavily into making your character into someone who is important. It is best to avoid making your character any kind of leader if you are new to role-playing, and even veteran role-players often shy away from taking important roles within the roleplay world. Your character does not require a title. If they are simply a nobody who is just starting out their adventure, then perhaps you should skip this step. A character without a title is more of a blank page than if you start out with one. A title has the ability to lock you into many specific things, from personality to what class they are should you be role-playing in a game. Back to our example, Lord Thaddeus Harkov in the game World of Warcraft gained his title from his position in the noble house of Harkov. He is a noble lord. This locks him into many things. He is expected to act properly, not go out on adventures due to his important status, and as well he is under a lot of pressure as the lower class citizens look up to him as a leader and hope for him to do the right thing. Step 3. Their personality. Your character obviously needs a personality. It wouldn't be a very good idea to have them swinging back and forth between best friends with everybody and that guy that everybody hates. This is one of the most important parts of the character creation process. Many of the things decided here will give you the future answers you will need for the big decisions. Ask yourself a few questions about the character, and answer them based on what you want the character to be like. Are they kind and a forgiving person, or are they selfish and greedy? Are they quiet and unsociable, or are they loud and proud? If they are quiet and unsociable, does this make them shady and perhaps a bit creepy? Or are they more nervous and perhaps a bit shy? If they are loud and proud, does this make them obnoxious and arrogant, or are they simply friendly and thus very sociable, and like to make new friends? Questions like these will make up the personality so that you know the answers to later questions. Let's look back at the example from the first episode. If somebody came up to your character in a bar, telling them that there was an escaped convict in the area, they say if you could catch them, they would try to find more work for you. How would your character react? The answer to this is found in the pre-made personality. The cocky and arrogant type would clearly accept the mission and say it would be no problem, likely even coming back later with the prize saying it was too easy or perhaps not worth my time. Lord Thaddeus James Harkov is a nobleman, both by status and personality. He is kind and gentle to the lower class citizens, and he often wishes there was more he could do for them. He works to give all men chances at a good life, but is often alone in this cause when it comes to the noble gatherings. When he spends his time among the lower class, he is very sociable and will even go as far as buying drinks for those around him should he be at a tavern. He likes to meet all kinds of people and strives to be one of the lower class, even if his noble status demands he be more. He does not give away his surname, and prefers to act as if he were not a noble, leaving those around him to simply believe he is James, the man from nowhere. You can see, just from adding in his personality and the sort of things he does, we have the makings of a character profile already. There are a couple more steps, though, before we are ready to release our character into the role-playing world. That brings us to step 4, their history. You need to look into the lore of what it is you are role-playing and make a background history that matches up. This can give your character his reasoning for what he does, and as well can help you explain or even create their personality. Try not to make it too dramatic, but make it interesting so that others will want to read it. This is the final makings of your character, and he will almost be done. So make sure you pay careful attention to this part. You wouldn't want your character to be Joe Tim Bob who worked at the apple farm and visited the tavern every Wednesday. There is nothing to that character. They are not interesting, and I, for one, certainly wouldn't want to have to roleplay with them since they're just so, well, dull. Keep in mind the entire point of roleplay is to enjoy yourself. Perhaps if Joe Tim Bob had an untold story. Perhaps there was more to his past than he or you will tell. Leave room for mystery, and there will be reason for others to want their characters involved with yours. They will want their characters to explore your character, to discover who they are, and why Joe Tim Bob has scars all over his body, and has a small Royal Guard symbol stitched into his dirty white shirt. Who is he really? Don't tell everybody there is to know... Don't tell everything there is to know in the history, but bring in needed detail. Thaddeus James Harkov was born and raised in a noble family. Much of his life was handed to him on a silver platter. But when his family decided to adventure into the jungle far south of the city without the house knights, his life changed forever. His family was slaughtered, all but a few members, including his sister and a few cousins. As a young man, it was hard to lose everybody he loved, and at the same time he was launched into the position of Lord of the House. His sister had survived the massacre because she was away, being trained in the magical arts. She remained there in the safety of another city. Young Thaddeus had to turn to his father for guidance. He had been around him all his life, trained for this very day. He remembered the teachings. Always put the people first. He knew he had to fight for the rights of the lower class, just as his father did in his life. Thaddeus grew into a fine man with his morals and beliefs stronger than ever. He pushed the court to return the people's lands and to send them supplies. They had to protect and care for the people who grew their food and build their walls, he told them. But he had his own reasons. Every man had a right to life, and he would fight for theirs until the bitter end. We now have a firm character. We have a noble lord who fights for the rights of the lower class, and is a strong and kind man. There is only the fine details left now, though it's not the least important part. Step 5. Their appearance. You need to decide what your character looks like. This is the final step, because your character should look like what you described him as in the recent steps. Their normal clothing, their hair, their eyes. These are things that you need to explain. Even their body build comes into play here. However, too many people try to make their character as attractive and strong and perfect as possible. Avoid this at all costs. If your character has no flaws, then why do you roleplay them? Why should you drive on a story for somebody who has no issues with themselves? Give them scars, make them short or fat. People are beautiful no matter what they look like. The fun is finding out what it is so beautiful about them. Thaddeus is an example of being on the border between right and wrong. He is far from heavily flawed, but he is not perfect. You can also give them small little things that give them more personality here. Give them a pocket watch they always carry. Perhaps they use a walking cane. This all comes into play with their build. Perhaps they are old and move very slowly. Maybe they are young and inexperienced, so they walk with an attitude that sets them apart from the most seasoned adventurers. Thaddeus, as a noble man, wears a full set of golden-colored armor, with a blue cloth over the side of it. A tabard is often hanging from his shoulders that bears the Harkov seal. For casual clothing he wears fine clothing, often a blue, black, and gold. His hair matches this, long gold hair that flows over his shoulders just beyond neck length. His body is built beyond that of your common noble, the muscles showing through his clothing revealing the well-defined body beneath. He has a rough beard, a couple inches long. And between the two sets of hair, a cigar will often be held between his lips. The handsome man is far from perfect, though, his skin rough and his eyes tired. As happy as he may act, there is sadness in his eyes. Sadness that leave one to wonder what could be wrong in this man's life. He has wealth, power, and he is fighting for a good cause, but his eyes tell of something darker and more personal. There is something his life is missing. That is for sure. Things like the cigar and the rough skin, as well as the look in his eyes, these give your character that extra bit of personality that you need. And there you have it. You should be set up with a character that is their own person. Now you need to find that first roleplay, and I will be giving you some tips on how to do that in the next episode. For now, look back over your character and make sure they are just how you want them. Remember that the more important your character is, the more experienced you should be. I hope this was helpful and that you will take a look at the next video to come. I would greatly appreciate it if you shared the video, like it, or commented on anything you want to see. Subscribing would really make my day, and I would even thank you personally. Well, I would, but instead I'll simply give you a thank you right here. And that was your thank you. Really, your views are all I ask for, and just the fact that you're hearing my voice now either means you were really interested in the ending, or you were kind enough to watch all the way through. Thank you, and see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.